Jamaica is an island country situated in the Caribbean Sea, comprising the third largest island of the Greater Antilles. The island, 10,990 square kilometers in area, lies about 145 kilometers south of Cuba, and 191 kilometers west of Hispaniola, the island containing the nation-states of Haiti and the Dominican Republic. Jamaica is the fifth largest island country in the Caribbean, previously inhabited by the indigenous Arawak and Taino peoples. The island came under Spanish rule following the arrival of Christopher Columbus in Indiana 1494. Named Santiago, it remained a possession of Spain until 1655, when England conquered the island and renamed it Jamaica. Under British rule, Jamaica became a leading sugar exporter, with its plantation economy highly dependent on slaves imported from Africa, followed later by Chinese and Indian indentured labor. All slaves were fully emancipated in 1838, with independence from the United Kingdom achieved on 6 August 1962. With 2.8 million people, Jamaica is the third most populous Anglophone country in the Americas, and the fourth most populous country in the Caribbean. Kingston is the country's capital and largest city, with a population of 937,700. Jamaicans are of predominantly African descent, with significant European, Chinese, Indian, and mixed-race minorities. Due to a high rate of emigration since the 1960s, Jamaica has a large diaspora around the world, particularly in Canada, the United Kingdom, and the United States. Jamaica is a Commonwealth realm, with Queen Elizabeth II as its monarch and head of state. Her appointed representative in the country is the Governor-General of Jamaica, currently Sir Patrick Allen. The head of government and Prime Minister of Jamaica is Portia Simpson Miller. Jamaica is a parliamentary constitutional monarchy with legislative power vested in the bicameral Parliament of Jamaica, consisting of an appointed Senate and a directly elected House of Representatives. Etymology: the indigenous people, the Taino, called it Zarimakar in Arawakan, meaning the land of wood and water, or the land of springs. Colloquially, Jamaicans refer to their home island as the Rock, whereof further slang names like Jam Rock, Jam Down, or briefly Jar, have derived. History. Prehistory. The Arawak and Taino indigenous people, originating in South America, settled on the island between 4000 and 1000 BC. When Christopher Columbus arrived in 1494, there were more than 200 villages ruled by caciques. The south coast of Jamaica was the most populated, especially around the area now known as Old Harbor. The Taino still inhabited Jamaica when the English took control of the island in 1655. The Jamaican National Heritage Trust is attempting to locate and document any evidence of the Taino, Arawaks. Spanish rule. Christopher Columbus claimed Jamaica for Spain after landing there in 1494. His probable landing point was Dry Harbor, now called Discovery Bay, although there is some debate that it might have been St. Anne's Bay. St. Anne's Bay was named St. Gloria by Columbus, as the first sighting of the land. 1.5 kilometers west of St. Anne's Bay is the site of the first Spanish settlement on the island, Sevilla, which was established in 1509 and abandoned around 1524 because it was deemed unhealthy. The capital was moved to Spanish Town, then called St. Iago de la Vega, around 1534. British rule. Spanish Town has the oldest cathedral of the British colonies in the Caribbean. The Spanish were forcibly evicted by the English at Ocho Rios in St. Anne. In 1655, the English, led by Sir William Penn and General Robert Venables, took over the last Spanish fort in Jamaica. The name of Montego Bay, the capital of the parish of St. James, was derived from the Spanish name Manteca Bahia, alluding to the lard-making industry based on processing the numerous spores in the area. In 1660, the population of Jamaica was about 4,500 white and 1,500 black, but by as early as the 1670s, black people formed a majority of the population. In 1394, France prohibited Jews as residents of their country. By 1660, Jamaica had become a refuge for Jews in the New World, also attracting those who had been expelled from Spain and Portugal. A settlement of Jews had arrived in 1510, soon after the son of Christopher Columbus settled on the island. Primarily merchants and traders, the Jewish community was forced to live a clandestine life, calling themselves Portugals. After the British took over rule of Jamaica, the Jews decided the best defense against Spain's regaining control was to encourage making the colony a base for Caribbean pirates. With the pirates installed in Port Royal, the Spanish would be deterred from attacking. The British leaders agreed with the viability of this strategy to forestall outside aggression. When the English captured Jamaica in 1655, the Spanish colonists fled after freeing their slaves. The slaves dispersed into the mountains, joining the Maroons, those who had previously escaped from the Spanish to live with the Tainos. The Jamaican Maroons fought the British during the 18th century. The name is still used today for their modern descendants. During the centuries of slavery, Maroons established free communities in the mountainous interior of Jamaica, where they maintained their freedom and independence for generations. During its first 200 years of British rule, Jamaica became one of the world's leading sugar-exporting, slave-dependent nations, producing more than 77,000 tons of sugar annually between 1820 and 1824. Many of their descendants continue to reside in Jamaica today. By the beginning of the 19th century, Jamaica's dependence on slave labor and a plantation economy had resulted in black people outnumbering white people by a ratio of almost 20 to 1. Although the UK had outlawed the importation of slaves, some were still smuggled into the colonies. While planning the abolition of slavery, the British Parliament passed laws to improve conditions for slaves. They banned the use of whips in the field and flogging of women, informed planters that slaves were to be allowed religious instruction, and required a free day during each week when slaves could sell their produce, prohibiting Sunday markets to enable slaves to attend church. The House of Assembly in Jamaica resented and resisted the new laws. Members claimed that the slaves were content and objected to Parliament's interference in island affairs. Slave owners feared possible revolts if conditions were lightened. Following a series of rebellions on the island and changing attitudes in Great Britain, the British government formally abolished slavery by an 1833 act, beginning in 1834, with full emancipation from chattel slavery declared in 1838. The population in 1834 was 371,070, of whom 15,000 were white, 5,000 free black, 40,000 colored or mixed race, and 311,070 slaves. In the 19th century, the British established a number of botanical gardens. These included the Castleton Botanical Garden, developed in 1862 to replace the Bath Garden, which was subject to flooding. Bath Garden was the site for planting breadfruit, brought to Jamaica from the Pacific by Captain William Bligh. It became a staple in island diets. Other gardens were the Cinchona Plantation, founded in 1868, and the Hope Garden, founded in 1874. In 1872, Kingston was designated as the island's capital. In 1945, Sir Horace Hector Hunn became Chief Justice and Keeper of the Records in Jamaica. He headed the Supreme Court, Kingston, between 1945 and 1951. He moved to Kenya, which had achieved independence, where he was appointed Chief Justice. Independence. Jamaica slowly gained increasing independence from the United Kingdom. In 1958, it became a province in the Federation of the West Indies, a federation among the British West Indies. Jamaica attained full independence by leaving the Federation in 1962. Strong economic growth, averaging approximately 6% per annum, marked the first 10 years of independence under conservative governments. They were led successively by Prime Ministers Alexander Bustamante, Donald Sangster and Hugh Shearer. The growth was fueled by strong private investments in bauxite, alumina, tourism, manufacturing industry and, to a lesser extent, the agricultural sector. The optimism of the first decade was accompanied by a growing sense of inequality, and concern that the benefits of growth were not being shared by the urban poor. Combined with the effects of a slowdown in the global economy in 1970, the electorate was moved to change government, electing the PNP in 1972. Despite efforts to create more socially equitable policies in education and health, Jamaica continued to lag economically. By 1980, its gross national product had declined to some 25% below the 1972 level, due to rising foreign and local debt, accompanied by large fiscal deficits. The government sought International Monetary Fund financing from the United States and others. The international bankers imposed IMF austerity measures. Economic deterioration continued into the mid-1980s, exacerbated by a number of factors. The first and third largest alumina producers, Alpart and Alcoa, closed, and there was a significant reduction in production by the second largest producer, Alcan. In addition, tourism decreased and Reynolds Jamaica Mines Limited left the Jamaican industry. Independence, however widely celebrated in Jamaica, has in more recent years been a topic for discussion. In 2011, a survey done showed that approximately 60% of Jamaicans would push to once again become a British territory, citing years of social and fiscal mismanagement in the country. Government and politics. Jamaica is a parliamentary democracy and constitutional monarchy, with Queen Elizabeth II serving as the Jamaican monarch. As Elizabeth II is shared as head of state of 15 other countries and resides mostly in the United Kingdom, she is thus often represented as Queen of Jamaica in Jamaica and abroad by the Governor-General of Jamaica. The Governor-General is nominated by the Prime Minister of Jamaica and the entire cabinet and appointed by the monarch. All the members of the cabinet are appointed by the Governor-General on the advice of the Prime Minister. The monarch and the Governor-General serve largely ceremonial roles, apart from their reserved powers for use in certain constitutional crisis situations. Jamaica's current constitution was drafted in 1962 by a bipartisan joint committee of the Jamaican legislature. It came into force with the Jamaica Independence Act, 1962 of the United Kingdom Parliament, which gave Jamaica independence. The Parliament of Jamaica is bicameral, consisting of the House of Representatives and the Senate. Members of the House are directly elected, and the member of the House of Representatives who, in the Governor-General's best judgment, is best able to command the confidence of a majority of the members of that House, is appointed by the Governor-General to be the Prime Minister. Senators are nominated jointly by the Prime Minister and the parliamentary leader of the opposition and are then appointed by the Governor-General. The current Prime Minister of Jamaica is Portia Simpson Miller, having been inaugurated on 5 January 2012. Prime Minister Simpson Miller acts as the head of government of Jamaica. Political culture. Jamaica has traditionally had a two-party system, with power often alternating between the People's National Party and Jamaica Labour Party. The party with current administrative and legislative power is the People's National Party, with a two-thirds parliamentary majority as of 2012. There are also several minor parties who have yet to gain a seat in Parliament. The largest of these is the National Democratic Movement. Administrative divisions. Jamaica is divided into 14 parishes, which are grouped into 3 historic counties that have no administrative relevance. Military. The Jamaica Defence Force is the small but professional military force of Jamaica. The JDF is based on the British military model with similar organisation, training, weapons and traditions. Once chosen, officer candidates are sent to one of several British or Canadian basic officer courses depending on the arm of service. Enlisted soldiers are given basic training at Upper Park Camp or JDF Training Depot, Newcastle, both in St. Andrew. As with the British model, NCOs are given several levels of professional training as they rise up the ranks. Additional military schools are available for specialty training in Canada, the United States and the United Kingdom. The JDF is directly descended from the British Army's West India Regiment formed during the colonial era. The West India Regiment was used extensively by the British Empire in policing the empire from 1795 to 1926. Other units in the JDF heritage include the early colonial Jamaica Militia, the Kingston Infantry Volunteers of World War I and reorganized into the Jamaican Infantry Volunteers in World War II. The West Indies Regiment was reformed in 1958 as part of the West Indies Federation. After dissolution of the Federation, the JDF was established. The Jamaica Defence Force comprises an infantry regiment and reserve corps, an air wing, a Coast Guard fleet and a supporting engineering unit. The infantry regiment contains the 1st, 2nd and 3rd battalions. The JDF Air Wing is divided into 3 flight units, a training unit, a support unit and the JDF Air Wing. The Coast Guard is divided between seagoing crews and support crews who conduct maritime safety and maritime law enforcement as well as defense-related operations. The role of the support battalion is to provide support to boost numbers in combat and issue competency training in order to allow for the readiness of the force. The 1st Engineer Regiment was formed due to an increased demand for military engineers, and their role is to provide engineering services whenever and wherever they are needed. The headquarters JDF contains the JDF Commander, Command Staff as well as Intelligence, Judge Advocate Office, Administrative and Procurement sections. In recent years the JDF has been called on to assist the nation's police, the Jamaica Constabulary Force, in fighting drug smuggling and a rising crime rate which includes one of the highest murder rates in the world. JDF units actively conduct armed patrols with the JCF in high crime areas and known gang neighborhoods. There has been vocal controversy as well as support of this JDF role. In early 2005, an opposition leader, Edward Siaga, called for the merger of the JDF and JCF. This has not garnered support in either organization nor among the majority of citizens.